The grandfather paradox. The grandfather paradox suggests that if you use a time machine to prevent your grandparents from meeting, you could prevent your own birth. However, if you were never born, it raises the question of how you could have used the time machine in the first place. Achilles and the tortoise. In the Achilles and the tortoise paradox, Achilles, a swift runner, allows a tortoise to start ahead in a race. The paradox suggests that Achilles will never catch up to the tortoise, because every time he reaches the spot where the tortoise previously was, the tortoise has moved slightly ahead. This process repeats endlessly, making it seem like Achilles can never overtake the tortoise. Ship of Theseus. The ship of Theseus paradox asks if a ship remains the same after all its parts have been replaced. If you then use the old parts to construct another ship, which one is the original? This paradox challenges the concept of identity over time. Sorite's paradox, heap of sand. In the Sorite's paradox, you start with a heap of sand and remove one grain at a time. The question is, at what point does it stop being considered a heap? This paradox explores the problem of vague definitions. Barber paradox. The barber paradox involves a barber who shaves everyone in town who does not shave themselves. The paradox arises when considering who shaves the barber. If he shaves himself, it contradicts the rule. If he does not, he should be shaved by the rule. This paradox highlights self-referential problems. Catch-22 paradox. The Catch-22 paradox describes a situation where you need something that can only be obtained by not needing it. For instance, a pilot can avoid dangerous flights if he is declared insane, but requesting to avoid these flights shows he is sane. This paradox illustrates a no-win situation. Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox questions why, given the vastness of the universe, we have not yet encountered any extraterrestrial life. It contrasts the high probability of alien civilizations with the lack of evidence for them. Opposite day paradox. The opposite day paradox arises when someone declares it is opposite day. If the statement is true, then it must be false, creating a self-contradictory loop. Simpson's paradox. Simpson's paradox occurs when a trend appears in different groups of data, but disappears or reverses when the groups are combined. This demonstrates that conclusions drawn from individual subgroups can differ from those drawn from the overall data set. Tolerance paradox. The tolerance paradox posits that unlimited tolerance can lead to the disappearance of tolerance, as it allows intolerant behavior to flourish, undermining a tolerant society. Therefore, to maintain tolerance, a society must be intolerant of intolerance. Bootstrap paradox. The bootstrap paradox involves time travel and questions the origin of information or objects. For example, if a time traveler gives a young Einstein a book containing the theory of relativity, which Einstein later publishes as his own, who is the original author? This paradox challenges the concept of causality. Stockdale paradox. The Stockdale paradox states that believing you will soon succeed can actually decrease your chances of success, whereas maintaining the belief that you will succeed eventually increases your likelihood of success. Jevons paradox. The Jevons paradox suggests that technological improvements that enhance resource efficiency often lead to an overall increase in resource consumption because people tend to use the product more. Olber's paradox. Olber's paradox asks why the night sky is dark if the universe contains an immense number of stars. Given the vastness of the universe, one would expect the sky to be uniformly bright. Paradox of thrift. The paradox of thrift asserts that while saving more money is beneficial for individuals, it can be detrimental to the economy as a whole. This is because increased savings can lead to decreased consumption and slowed economic growth. Unexpected hanging paradox. In the unexpected hanging paradox, a A prisoner is told he will be hanged on a weekday next week, but the execution will be a surprise. He deduces that if the hanging hasn't occurred by Thursday night, it must be on Friday, which wouldn't be a surprise. Therefore, he reasons it must be on Thursday, yet that too would be expected, creating a paradox. Value paradox. The value paradox highlights that essential items like water are typically cheaper, despite their crucial importance, while non-essential items like diamonds are more expensive. Pinocchio paradox. The Pinocchio paradox occurs when Pinocchio says, "My nose will grow." This creates a logical dilemma. If his statement is true, his nose should grow, making it a lie. If it is false, his nose should not grow, which would mean he is telling the truth. Hedonism paradox. The hedonism paradox states that the more directly one pursues pleasure or happiness, the less likely they are to achieve it. Crocodile paradox. The crocodile paradox involves a crocodile that promises to return a stolen child if the parent accurately predicts what the crocodile will do. If the parent predicts the child won't be returned and the crocodile agrees, a paradox arises. Returning the child would contradict the promise, while not returning the child would contradict the agreement. Sword and shield paradox. The sword and shield paradox poses the question of what happens when a sword sharp enough to cut through any shield meets a shield strong enough to block any blade. Dichotomy paradox. The dichotomy paradox illustrates that when walking towards a destination, you must first cover half the distance, then half of the remaining distance, and so on. Arrow paradox. In the arrow paradox, it seems an arrow in flight is constantly changing position. Grand Hotel paradox. The Grand Hotel paradox describes an infinitely large hotel with an infinite number of occupied rooms. Even if every room is occupied, the hotel can still accommodate more guests by moving the guest in room 1 to room 2, room 2 to room 3, and so on, which is possible because there are infinite rooms. Card paradox. The card paradox involves a card with the statement, "The sentence on the other side of this card is true," on one side, and "The sentence on the other side of this card is false," on the other side. This creates a logical contradiction where neither statement can be true without the other being false. Liar paradox. The liar paradox involves a statement such as, "I am lying." If the person is lying, then they are telling the truth, which means they are lying. This creates a self-contradictory loop. Grain of millet paradox. The grain of millet paradox observes that a single grain of millet falling makes no perceptible sound, but 1,000 grains falling together do. This raises the question of how many imperceptible sounds combine to become perceptible, highlighting the issue of emergent properties. Boltzmann brain paradox. The Boltzmann brain paradox suggests that it might be more likely for a single brain to spontaneously form in a void, complete with memories of existing in our universe, than for the entire universe to come into existence as it has. Paradox of enrichment. The paradox of enrichment posits that increasing the food supply in an ecosystem can lead to instability and potentially to extinction, contrary to the expectation that more resources would support larger populations. Service recovery paradox. The service recovery paradox suggests that successfully resolving a problem with a defective product can result in higher customer satisfaction than if no problem had occurred in the first place. Stability-instability paradox. The stability-instability paradox suggests that when two countries possess nuclear weapons, the likelihood of a direct war between them decreases significantly. Ironic process theory. Ironic process theory describes the psychological phenomenon where attempts to suppress or avoid certain thoughts make those thoughts more persistent. Paradox of choice. The paradox of choice theory proposes that reducing the number of consumer choices can be beneficial, as it significantly decreases shoppers' anxiety. Birthday paradox. The birthday paradox explains that to have a 100% probability of at least 2 people in a group sharing the same birthday, you need 366 people. However, to have a 50% probability, you need only 23 people. Schrödinger's cat. Schrödinger's cat is a thought experiment in quantum theory where a particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously, known as superposition. If a cat is placed in a box with a mechanism that releases poison based on the particle's state, the cat is simultaneously alive and dead until observed, assuming the cat or machine is not considered an observer. Twin paradox. The twin paradox, based on Einstein's theory, states that the faster you travel through space, the slower you age. If one twin becomes an astronaut and travels at near light speed, they will age more slowly than their identical twin on Earth. Friendship paradox. The friendship paradox indicates that, on average, your friends have more friends than you do. This occurs because people with more friends are more likely to be your friends. Raven paradox. The Raven paradox suggests that to confirm all ravens are black, finding a black raven supports this claim. Paradoxically, finding something that is not a raven and not black, such as a green apple, also supports the claim indirectly. Temperature paradox. The temperature paradox asks if the temperature is 90 degrees and rising, is the specific temperature of 90 degrees also rising? Interesting number. Paradox. The interesting number paradox argues that there cannot be a smallest uninteresting number, because if a number is uninteresting for being the first uninteresting number, it becomes interesting for that reason. Irresistible force paradox. The irresistible force paradox questions what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, highlighting the conflict between two seemingly absolute principles. Lottery paradox. The lottery paradox suggests that, in a large lottery with one winning ticket, it is reasonable to believe any particular ticket is not the winning one. Preparedness paradox. The preparedness paradox states that after preparing for a catastrophe and mitigating its damage, the perception of the catastrophe's seriousness is reduced because the damage was limited due to the preparation.